How do you create habits that actually stick? Hey guys, I hope everyone is having a fantastic day. And I just wanted to jump on this video to just talk a bit about habits, and that is creating habits, and more importantly, how do you actually go about making habits that stick and habits that you continue on even after a long time. So the reason why I'm making this video is I'm in the process of creating a new habit for myself. For those that follow me a bit on my stories, on my socials, I have initiated what I call the direct to vendor plan, which is basically for me to work on and focus on finding direct to vendor deals in my area. And the reason for this is I've been looking at the open market for quite some time now, and I'm really struggling to find things that do stack within my criteria and also in my areas, or the areas that I want to focus on that doesn't involve me driving 2 hours away, because I am lazy like that. So that's a bit of transparency. So in order to make it work then, I've been really inspired by people that are doing direct to vendors and that's overall strategy. And it's come to me in the sense that it's something new that I need to do. And as such, it needs to be a new habit, right, that I need to form, because I haven't been doing any direct to vendor stuff for the longest time, because I have purchased the majority of my properties on the open market actually. So that means that, you know, I'm kind of out of touch with that and don't have the skills required or necessary to do more direct to vendor, and as such the confidence is not there. So through this process though, I'm learning a bit more about myself and in terms of habits, and I wanted to just give you guys 3 tips that have really helped me with starting this and keeping up the consistency of doing it. So the first thing that you can do when it comes to habits is that you can do a trick called habit stacking. And this is a technique taken from the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, which is a fantastic book, by the way. So if you want to read something about this topic, then I would highly recommend that book. But within that book, one of the techniques that stood out to me that James explains is to stack habits. And what that means is to do things or do actions or take actions where essentially you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone, right? And that is what we call by habit stacking. So I think in the book he gave an example of if you were to do an action such as, let's say, an action that you do automatically every day without fail, then you can stack something else next to it, a habit that you want to create next to it, to make it so that there's less resistance towards doing the thing you actually want to achieve. As an example, if I were to brush my teeth every day, because that's a task that I do every day, during that time I could be doing something else at the same time. The wild one out there, I could be doing squats for the lack of imagination. So at the same time as I'm brushing my teeth, I could be doing squats. So I'm actually training something in the morning that I might not actually be doing, right? So that is stacking a habit on top of something else. Another example, maybe if you are doing some manual work, right, that doesn't require much brain power, you could be listening to a podcast, right? So there's an element of multitasking there when it comes to habit stacking. So to bring it back to this example of what I'm doing with doing direct to vendors and walking the streets as it is, I'm stacking the habit of getting my steps in that I need to get my steps in for the day into the process of identifying properties and sending out posting letters. So this is, again, as you would realize, is killing 2 birds with 1 stone, because 1, I am doing the action that might not be what I want to do, which is walking the streets and identifying properties that look run down, which I need to do. But at the same time, the habit that I would want to do is to exercise, right? I'm quite happy to do more steps and do more exercise. So by stacking the habits, it just gives you more chance of keeping it up for a period of time until it becomes a natural habit for you to do. In this case is leaflet dropping. Right, so that's number one. Tip number two is to gamify whatever you're trying to do or you're trying to make into a habit. So what does this mean? Well, there's a study that goes that reveals that for us, for people, when we do a task, we find it a lot more enjoyable to do a task when it's gamified and when it's more of a pleasure rather than a chore, right? What that means is essentially whenever you do something that your brain perceives as a chore, there is lots of resistance towards that, which could lead to procrastination or talking yourself out of doing it. So an easy example to explain this would be if you need to exercise, again, use that, go to the gym, right? Your brain can either perceive that as a chore, as in like you have to go to the gym and you're dragging yourself there, but you really don't want to, and you're using willpower and motivation to do it. Or you could gamify it and perceive it as pleasure, as something that's fun, as something that you want to do, rather than something that you're being made against your will to do, which is what some people might see the chore of exercise is. But if you reframe your mind from that and change your perspective around that and see it as playtime, then it doesn't really seem like it's a chore, right? So from what becomes as a thing that you don't want to do, naturally you're more inclined to do it. So another reason why gamification is good is that you're also able to track it. So if you are to perceive a task or a habit that you want to do as some sort of game, you can actually record it, right, and see how you do, right, with each round, and make it into a game where you're trying to improve or / beat your record from the previous time. So again, give you an example on this direct to vendor thing that I'm doing is each time that I go out, I would record how many leaflets I dropped, right? And the next time I go, I would aim to beat that number. So today I've done 5 drops, which means I've identified 5 potential properties that might be good direct to vendors. Next time I go out, I will try to aim for 6, right, if I can. Or I could see, how much distance I've traveled within a certain time limit. So if I walked 5 kilometers in an hour today, then tomorrow maybe I can make that into 6 kilometers per hour, which means I cover more distance. And then again, you get the idea, make this into a game so it's more pleasurable, right? So gamification is very important as a psychological thing, and like I said, there's studies going into it and why gamification of parts of your life, it's so important and can really help you with making things more enjoyable. I will do another video at some point about that because I think it's a very important topic that could be expanded on. Finally, tip number 3, and one that is very, very important in my opinion, when it comes to making habits stick, is before that even is the question, you have to ask yourself the reason why you want to make this thing into a habit to start off with. Because what I believe, ultimately, it's your why that carries the strength of your will and your reason and your want to do something, essentially. And creating habits is no different from any other whys and why you want to do something, essentially. So your why is so important. You have to think about what is the reason that you want to create this habit. So if it's in the exercising, taking that as an example again, maybe you want to be fitter, so You can do more sports, or maybe you want to maintain a level of flexibility. So as you get older, as you know, people that are getting older, your body starts to wear down. Pains and aches and flexibility becomes an issue. Maybe you don't want to lose that. And wouldn't it be nice if you were in your 60s and you still got a flexibility level and a healthy body to really enjoy your life when it comes to being of that age, rather than allowing yourself to get weaker over time just by not looking after yourself and not creating those habits when you're younger and more able to stack on top of each other. So that could be a very strong why for you, and merging that with the enjoyment of it could make this habit more enjoyable to do, right? And the way that I see it, without a strong why, you're not going to get started to start off with, and things that you might start off and want to create a habit on being using motivation to do, that can quite quickly fizzle out. Like, give it a week, give it 2 weeks, you will be back to where you started again, if you don't really have a strong why and the focus to keep on doing that habit and knowing why you want to do it, basically. So what is the overall goal for creating these habits? So yeah, I mean, those are 3 tips that I apply to myself on a daily basis, especially sometimes when you have to think about the why, the level of self-awareness that you need to develop or start to develop would ultimately only mean self-development, something that is good for you. So I do recommend you have a deeper think about that if you don't really know why you're doing things, or why you even want to create certain habits or take certain actions. But altogether, these 3 things or 3 tips, if you were to really be able to combine it and play with it and experiment with it, keep it lighthearted and keep it fun, ultimately I believe that you can turn anything that you really want to do into a habit that sticks, right? And that's why I wanted to share with you guys these 3 tips in this video. So what do you think? Let me know with some feedback in the comments. If you like this video, feel free to save it, like and share, and also comment on it. I would love to hear what you guys think as well, and if you guys have any tips for me about creating habits and how you would go about doing it. But yeah, that's enough for me. I hope you guys have a fabulous, fantastic day, and I'll see you again soon.